Did you bring this remote from somewhere?
Yes, home. I brought the remote from home.
So this remote is from your house?
Yes.
And you set it on my table?
I set it on, but I can't figure out how to open it, and it's out of batteries, and Andy's out of town.
So you brought it for someone to work on?
Yes, I brought it's for someone to open my batteries. Yeah. Oh, how did you do that fast? Okay, that's the size we need. Because I'll be honest, Andy's out of town, so this won't come out until he's back. So that nobody will come and try to rob me.
Right.
When Andy leaves, the most random things happen. It's almost like the house is like, whew, Andy's gone. We can now run out of dog food. We can now let the remotes go. We can now completely disconnect from all of their streaming services that Jennifer doesn't know any of the passwords to.
Oh, the house says that.
The house begins to just sort of give up because I think Andy keeps us running. I'm more
and you're unaware that he keeps you running until he's gone. And then you're like, oh, he does a lot.
He does everything. And I can't be mad because he walks the dog, which is huge.
Yep.
He usually makes us dinner, which is huge.
Wow.
So anyway, so I couldn't figure out how to open, and I could not tell him I couldn't figure that out. So I brought it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And you immediately noticed it.
What do you bring to the table in your household?
I bring frivolity.
Happiness.
I bring
jokes.
All the fun.
Personality hire.
I keep our level of ingredients at a good, if I wasn't demanding Heinz ketchup, would be using some weird
apple supply. You always have the apples.
Cheese. I have to have apples.
Variety of cheese. You always have that on hand.
I do. I'm trying to think of what else I bring to the relationship. I guess for the last probably 18 years, I usually am on board with Olivia, taking care of everything she needs.
That's fair.
She's also a little bit like a pet.
So you've done your job. You're finished. You got her out of the house.
Retired. She's out.
Yeah.
She's out. And so
that's great. Well, then let's get started.
We didn't even spend time telling Catherine how this is going to go.
Well, let's get started. And then maybe you can tell her what's going on.
We'll just let her know on the show how it's going to go.
I did watch a couple of them of the podcast.
So that's good.
Yeah.
That must have been that bump in numbers.
Yeah.
I thought my mom had finally figured it out again.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. I do know today it's going to be amazing. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin, how are we surviving out there?
We're doing great.
We're either melting in close to 100-degree heat
or blowing away,
or we're trying to find a place to move our car so it doesn't get flooded. Yeah. It is one or the other these days.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this. I'm doing great. I do want to say that I actually, even in the midst of all the chaos of the past month, I actually did my first open mic stand-up comedy.
Justin, are you serious?
I am very serious.
How did it go?
It did not go great. It's really hard.
I'm so impressed that you did that.
Really hard.
Oh my gosh, you didn't even tell me. Did you go by yourself?
Of course, I didn't even tell you about it. My wife didn't even know I was there.
Oh my goodness.
No,
we've got to get a couple people and go and laugh for you.
You've
got to get some buddies in the crowd.
You do have to get some buddies. I will say, so I went to one. I told you about that one. I went to watch one to see what it was like. And I was like, these guys are terrible. I can do this. And then I signed up for one by email, and they emailed me like, hey, you're in for the show, whatever, here's this time. And so but I didn't know.
Did you have to pay?
No.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know it was a 1 minute thing and not a 5 minute thing. And so I get the email like 3 hours before, like, hey, you're up, you can be on the show, but it's 1 minute and you compete to go to the next round. I was like, and so like, I try and like cram 5 minutes into one. It was truly terrible. Like it was the biggest like humbling moment I've ever had. I've never walked in so confident and walked away so like I'm not good at this because I just wasn't prepared. And then so I did it again at another place and they got me 3 minutes and it was a little bit better, but still I was like, I really thought I'd be better at this. And it's like it's wild because it's like a Tuesday night at 11:30 and you're at a bar. And first of all, it's like, why are these people even here on Tuesday night at 11:30 at a bar? They're not my people. And so it's hard to connect with them. I'm realizing because I'll preach a sermon to 700 people and I can get 30 laughs in the first 10 minutes before I get to like the meat of the sermon. I was like, I can do this easy. But it's because those people are like me. You know what I'm saying? Like but in a bar on a Tuesday night at 11, it's just like, I've got nothing in common with these people.
Right.
And so I quickly realized like, oh, it's more than just like, this is something funny. It's, oh, this resonates with the people I'm talking to. So I've learned a lot. I wouldn't say I'm never going to do it again, but it was wild. It was wild. The experience of being up there and just like, I recorded it so I could hear it. And I was like, oh yeah, I could tell what I did wrong. So it was cool that I could like,
I think it's really cool that you have this as a skill that you're learning.
if you got to learn it.
Because it's something I've always wanted to do. Well,
you've done it for church. You did it for a ladies' retreat, and it was funny. Like you did it for a ladies' retreat. And here's what I know about you and me. If we have a population of people that that understand us, we can get them to laugh very easily.
Sure.
And so
I call them easy laughers. Yes. An easy crowd is what Andy would call it.
And so I actually submitted a question so Nate Bargatze has a podcast and he has like 4 comics that hang out. And I submitted a question. Nate wasn't there, but they answered it. And my question was like, you know, when it's really terrible at the beginning, why would you keep going? Like, why did y'all keep doing this when it's really hard in the beginning? And one guy said, like, he said, I think even if you put Nate or somebody in a disguise and change their name and they went into an open mic, some of those guys probably couldn't get laughs in that scenario. He's like, because it's so weird. Like, it's such a weird space that, like, he said, I'll be listening to guys do a special and everybody's laughing. He's like, I don't think this would fly in an open mic. Like, it's just such a different vibe when you're with your people that know you.
I would think in an open mic, especially 11:30 at night, is probably shock, inappropriate.
Yes. It's the lowest of garbage.
Bar.
Yes.
The lowest bar.
Yes.
For an 8-year-old.
Yes.
At recess.
It is.
Don't let the teacher hear me.
Very inappropriate. Yes. Yes. And so, yes, that's exactly what it is. And that doesn't mean that they won't laugh at things that aren't that way, but they are there for body jokes, you know, like BAWDY. That's what they're there for. And when you don't have that, because I was talking to a guy, he's a physics professor and he does it too. And he for his job, he's like, I can't be dirty. Like, I don't want clips of me getting to my students that I'm inappropriate.
Sure.
So he's kind of in the same boat as me. And he's like, there's some open mics that like, they're not going to want that. He's like, there's others that are earlier in the night or, you know, that are.
But you have to like earn those spaces.
Some of them, yeah, especially earlier or on the weekend, but like Tuesday at midnight, they're like, come on, you want to talk? Here's the microphone.
That's
so it was
awesome.
good to get what it feels like. And I got a couple of smiles and chuckles. So it wasn't like a total loss, but I was like, whoa. I was like, I really thought this would be.
I cannot believe you did that. I'm so impressed.
I might do it again this weekend. There's one I'm probably going to do.
I will say this. No one has ever very, very few people want to do this.
Right. And that's what the guy was telling me, because he went to see Nate Bargatze as well when he was here. And I was talking about his openers, how they weren't funny. And he's like, honestly, I think half the battle is just these guys just keep doing it. They don't stop. He's like, they may not be the funniest people in the world, but they just don't quit.
Right.
And they get connections and suddenly they're opening for Nate Bargatze and they're not that funny. And I was like,
and they're not that funny.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
I've already learned a lot. And it's easy because it's like after the kids go to bed, Kristen's like and sleep at 9:30. So I'm like, well, I'll just have a late night. And I go by myself and I've gone to a few and performed it too. So it's kind of it's in this season, it's easy for me to do it because I can put the kids to bed and then Kristen's like, well, I'm just gonna read my book. So see you later. Like,
wow.
So it's kind of an interesting spot, but I learned a lot. I don't think I'm done with it, but I don't know if I'm going to like pursue it hardcore, but it was a bucket list thing for sure. And that's
cool.
And I think
congratulations.
I think you could do it. But it does take prep. Like you can't just go up there and wing it.
You can't just go there and talk about anything.
Which you did at that ladies
retreat.
retreat. Like I feel like you did that. You prepped and you knew what you were going to say. And it was funny.
Of course.
Those girls, those ladies, like we have footage of it. And those ladies were really laughing hard at your jokes.
Well, that's very kind of them.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. I do want to give a public service announcement that for the rest of the show, for some reason, the angle will be further out and not just right here, but all the way to my waist.
Okay.
And so at that point, I'd like for you to just go to the
audio version.
To the audio version of the show. I'm so hunched over. And I looked over and I go, I'm glad this is not all on the show. And I'm like, wait, why can I see this? Why can I see me on the monitor?
Yeah.
All the way to my...
We didn't do our normal check. Normally,
we didn't do our normal check.
We're in
a hurry.
All that to say, we have already recorded this interview, which, I mean, I guess we just showed our hands there, but...
But
what's new with you? What's going on?
What is new with me? Well, I'm an empty nester now.
Yeah.
And so I bought a puzzle. So I've been working through a puzzle, which is too hard. It's too hard of a puzzle, but I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it together. I don't know what to do. Like, it's like I go to work, I come home. Andy and I have our activities that we like to do together, but I'm like, wow, it's like a big chunk of my brain's free.
Yeah.
When I got married to Andy, I remember a free chunk of my brain was free and it wasn't obsessed about this boy all the time or trying to get a boyfriend or trying to be in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, I could have done a lot more with my life if I hadn't been so obsessed with this whole relationship piece.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's like, okay, so every day for the last whatever years, I wake up thinking, what does she need? What do we got to get for her? What have we? And now it's like, she's
gone.
She's off.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Got a lot of time for stand-up comedy. Go to some open mic
I guess
nights.
that's where I'm headed. Stand up. I did tell Andy, I was like, hey, for retirement, because you think about what am I going to do in retirement? Mm-hmm. What will be my little part-time job?
Yeah.
So I called Andy and I saw this video where the government is putting like $1 billion into making accounting look more glamorous or cooler because they cannot get enough accountants. So I called Andy up and I'm like, hey, what do you think about learning how to be accountants in our spare time?
Wow.
And his response was, I could probably see myself doing that, but you absolutely not. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Yeah. So I'm definitely doing it.
Yeah, go for it. Prove them wrong.
I'm starting.
Prove them wrong.
Well,
you already took out that loan at Texas A&M. Maybe you can take a couple classes with that loan you have.
I'm going to start with a couple of YouTubes that begin to tell you what accounting is.
Yes.
And then I'm going to sign up for a little night class at HCC. But I feel like I'm at this pace, just like you, but you're younger. I'm at this place where I'm like, I could learn a new skill. Mm-hmm. I could do a little skill and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then in retirement.
Yeah. Well, CityRise is hiring an accountant. So CityRise.org/jobs, if it's still up there.
Right. They know me too well.
Oh,
like Leanna she would never.
She's pretty sure.
She would say.
She's like, you're in your sweet spot with kids.
You're one of my great friends.
You're doing great with children. Why would we change this?
We would never do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so speaking of children and families, today, our guest is perfect for talking about families and moms and things going on. Well, it's the perfect time to talk about families and everything crazy going on when we have someone that brings an incredible ministry to our church, and we get to visit with Catherine Hernandez today.
Hi.
Hooray!
Catherine is our voluntold.
I did volunteer.
Our volunteer.
She volunteered as tribute.
Coordinator. For MomCo.
Yes.
Which I thought is MOPS. So I thought we'd start out by.
Yeah. Most recently, it's been known as MOPS, which our church has been doing for many
Mother
years.
of Preschoolers.
Correct. Yes.
And now it's changed, or it's the same but different.
So it's the same organization. They just internationally changed it to MomCo. And I think it was because it incorporates more than just moms of preschoolers.
Okay.
And they were trying to probably just bring in more moms, because I'm sure some moms are like, well, I don't have a preschooler anymore, or I have a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, and they have different avenues and different groups. And so I think they just wanted to change it to be more inclusive, to include more moms, I guess, with
That's good. So. Oh, I think that's wonderful.
Can Jennifer still go?
I can still go.
Yeah.
with an 18-year-old.
We always need mentor moms. So.
Ooh, you'd be a great mentor mom. You've spoken at MomCo before, right?
I
Like they
I usually speak a
do
little
they
bit.
still bring in like presentations and
Correct.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have presentations every week.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I will say
we're filling our schedule up. So
I've heard from multiple people that Jennifer was one of the highlights of MOP's presentation.
That's so nice, Justin.
involvement. Yeah, that and the firemen. When the firemen come, y'all two are like.
Well,
winners.
we do pull the fire alarm at least once a month, so they all come over and all the moms are like,
Get to
"Oh,
visit
they're so
with them."
cute."
Yeah.
So how did you, obviously having a child, but how did you end up becoming part of MomCo?
So obviously it was part of MOPS at that point, but this will be like history way back. COVID hit in 2020, right? And I quit my job to stay home with my then 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old. And at first it was really great, loved it. And then like 4 months in, when this wasn't going anywhere, I was like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? I just went from being, up at 6, kid at daycare at 7, pick her up at 5, she's in bed at 7, and so I was with her for like 2 hours a day. And then I was with her 24 hours a day. And I was like, how am I supposed to be a mom? I was not trained for this because I was working for 2 years. So anyways, at the old church that we went to at the time, they, after COVID, started MOPS again. And I was like, I need something to get out of the house and just like meet other moms. Because at the time, all my friends worked, because when you work, you kind of have like working
That's
moms.
where your buddies are.
Exactly. So anyways, so at that point, I started with MOPS at the church that we were attending. And so I went there for 2 years at that point. And then after that, I was like, this is kind of far. I should find a MOPS that's closer to where I live. And so that's how I kind of got plugged in with the MOPS or MomCo.
We were meeting
here.
at Bellaire at that time, or were we at Westview?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it was at Bellaire.
Okay.
So this was in 2020. What is right? What are we in right now?
2024.
So it's 2023.
And so then what actually happens for those that don't know, like what is happening at this gathering and why is it helpful to a mom?
Okay. So first of all, we eat food, which
That's
I
great.
think is always important.
Mhm.
One, obviously food brings people together. It's easier to talk, I feel like, whenever we're kind of distracted by eating. Two, I feel like a lot of moms, especially if you're really in the thick of it and depending on how your morning's gone, you might not have eaten that day. So the fact that there is food here, you're not hungry, all of that, there's socialization. And usually we try to break you up, and you have your own little table. So the idea is that you go and you sit at the same table every week so that hopefully you develop these relationships over time. And then maybe you have somebody that you can have a play date with throughout the year. But then also we also have meetings. I say meetings, but speakers who come in. And so we've had people come in and speak on like apologetics for kids. We've had pediatric dietitians come in and talk about feeding for your kid. Someone came in and spoke on finance one time. So the topics range from all over the place, but it's also Christian based. We usually have a devotional kind of beforehand. So, and then prayer requests at the end. So we just try and be, encouragement, and then a way for moms to just connect with others in their community. So.
Did you do MOPS when you were of the right age?
I went to one MOPS. I worked, so I could only do MOPS in the summer or when I was on some sort of a break.
Yeah.
And I went to one. I think I went one time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was lovely. I thought it was wonderful.
But it didn't work in your schedule.
But it I'll make it most of the time. So, but I have been to MOPS, and what I love is the relationships. These relationships that they form last for years and years and years. And then they had a reunion not too long ago where there were MOPS. There were people that, have been involved for like 30 years, came back to see their mentees, to see them mentoring people. It's this incredible belonging, easy to belong culture. And that's what I love about it, because it's set up for you to come in and not have to they already put you in a group. They give you someone that connects you all. They give you someone that's taking care of you. They give you the things to do. They give you the idea for play dates. And it's almost like you don't, because you're just trying to survive, right? And you don't have the confidence. For some reason, young moms don't have this strong confidence to just reach out and make friends easily. They're wondering, am I doing this okay? Is my kid wearing the right outfit? Are we at the right stage? Should my kid know the entire American language and sign language? What school are we going to? And so there's so much uncertainty. And so when a new mom comes in, they're just really vulnerable. They feel vulnerable. And to have that in place to help them feel loved really quickly, connected really quickly. I just love what it does for moms. I love it. And then we have free childcare. And our team, so this is the women's ministry under Kristen Campbell. And our team helps provide excellent childcare. And now we're going to be at the new Bellaire campus. You guys are going to be at the new Bellaire campus. Yes. We thought we're going to have it at Westview.
Yes, that was the original plan, but now it's going to be at the new Bellaire, I guess, Cross Point City Rise. And so, we're going to get to be in the brand new building, which is really exciting. And then we just meet in the coffee bar area. So it's just right down the hallway, which is really nice. It's in the same building this year. So
all on the ground floor.
Yes.
They used to be in the loft, which,
Yes.
Oh,
which that was an option, but then we had to move the coffee up.
Do you bring breakfast every time?
It's like potluck or different tables host?
So different tables host. We have typically 3 to 4 tables. And so we assign a table per week, or sometimes it's leadership that brings it, or mentor moms that bring it. So it rotates, but you would know whenever you're.
When I worked at the Bellaire campus, we'd get their leftovers in the office. So it was a good day.
There's everything from casseroles to bagels to fruit to it's a great spread. Yeah. But I love that they have host tables so that you're not having to pick up something every time. It gets a little arduous, but I just love moms. And we come in and we tell them all these volunteer opportunities. We're always trying to get them involved, and they let us do that. So we're really thankful for that.
Can you talk a little bit about how you became a Christian, kind of your little bit of a journey, and then also how you ended up? Was MOPS your way into our church?
Yes. MOPS was actually the way into
nice.
City Rise Bellaire.
But did you and your husband grow up as Christians, or what was the story there?
So my dad was a pastor growing up. So
you were nominally
you're a pastor's kid.
Yes. So, grandfather didn't. Not really. I mean, I did accept Christ. Humor. That is a requirement. Yeah. But so I don't really remember accepting. It's one of those, it happened when I was 5. My dad baptized me. Right. And so I don't really remember accepting Christ, but we were always in church, every Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday evening. Yeah. If there was an adult party for one of the
groups or Sunday school classes,
we were there, So I almost felt like I felt more comfortable around adults than I did kids because I was around them all the time. And so then just, throughout growing up, there have been times, obviously, where I've been closer to God, farther away from God. But I mean, just in general, he's always been someone that we've leaned on. My husband, his general background is that he grew up Catholic. It was probably more of a cultural Catholic than and I'm not saying that Catholics aren't Christians. They absolutely are. Just think the way he was raised was more of like we go at Christmas, we go at Easter, we occasionally go, but in general. And then in college, he kind of started coming to church with me, and we went to A&M. Okay. So,
what church did you go to in College Station?
We went to First Baptist.
Okay, so not the cool one.
Did you go to First Baptist College Station?
Brian.
First Baptist Brian. Yeah. Okay, all right.
First Baptist Brian is the cool one, I think. I think so.
I thought it was Grace.
Oh yeah. Grace I feel like Grace was the cool one in college. That's true. That's true. Grace was the cool one. Anyways, but then we moved here. I went here for grad school, and then his first job was here, and we started going to Houston's First Baptist Church. So
you guys met at A&M?
Yeah, we actually met in high school, but we did not date in high school.
Okay.
That's all we're like, we
High
knew
school
each other.
sweethearts, but you're
No,
not. Okay.
we are not. No, that's funny. Like in high school, I was like, I would have never dated you. And he was like, yeah,
Never.
same. Yeah. So
You know, my daughter's about to head to A&M. She's
there.
She's there
She
in
is
a little
there.
summer course, but she'll start her freshman year.
Yeah.
But the cheers.
Mm.
I've been to a few presentations where they have the yell leaders
Wait, were you
come out.
2% or were you all in?
we're probably 2%ers. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But it's been wild to me how many of these cheers and chants.
I mean, we know all of them.
I mean, they have a practice.
Even as a 2%er, we know all the cheers.
I'm like,
It's
Olivia,
just-
should I come up to one of these yell practices? And she's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Do not do this. But
They do practice. I mean, that's how they
even
know
this
them.
week, yes. Well, this is the little funny story to the side for A&M people. We'll get this, but they have the chair of what you're supposed to do with the cheer, right?
Yeah.
And then there's what the yell leaders are doing, which is a lot of like moving around and shaking to like
Yeah.
get you to the place where you do the cheer.
Yeah.
There's like moving their thumb around. It's a lot of bending.
They slap the ground
Slapping the
sometimes,
ground.
like just
When
like,
we went to
very
the
active.
when we were at the new student center, I thought we were supposed to do the entire part.
oh.
So everybody else is just
like a Zumba class. He thought it was like a Zumba
everybody
class.
else, everyone else, because I'm just focused on the yell leader. Everyone else just kind of hunched over. It's called hump, where you just lean over and yell.
Yeah.
But I'm up there trying to spin around, slap the ground, and like wave my fingers.
Yeah.
And Olivia looks at me. She goes, "Mom, no one's doing that part. Stop
Yeah.
it." And so she's like, "That's the most embarrassing thing."
Yeah.
I'm like, they didn't say this is our part. This is your part.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We have a huge amount of people
Yeah.
that are like Jennifer, sending kids off to college, specifically A&M actually. Like, what would you say after growing up in the church, like what helped you continue in your faith in college? Because the common story now is like, well, they grew up in church and now they don't, you know, like what motivated you to keep going, especially as a pastor's kid? Like, I feel like you'd be like, I'm done with this for a little while. Like what kept you motivated in college?
You know, that's hard. I don't know. I mean, I think part of it was guilt, probably. Like,
Great.
I can't not go.
Right.
And I mean, just honestly. But then also there were probably times where I noticed that if I wasn't going, my life just wasn't as great. And I'm not saying that like my life has ever been bad, but it was probably more stressful or I wasn't handling things as well. And so I think it was just the realization that, okay, I think I really do need God and the church and Jesus and all of that more prevalent in my life than what I'm probably putting it at right now. And so I think it was just a combo of those two things. But in general, I've always been the rule follower of the family.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest. Rules are
Yes.
important. And so I think it's partially personality, but partially just the experiences that I had.
And your husband was going to church with you at A&M or like
Yes.
y'all started dating and he started coming with you or what happened there?
So that's once again being the rule follower. He asked me out on a date and I was like, that's fun, but no. And he was like, well, why not? And I said, I'm just being honest. I really think we should be the same faith-based background.
Wow.
Just because I was like, don't mean to scare you or anything. I'm not saying we're going to get married, but I think that's an important thing. And I don't even want to like go down this road if that's not even going to be an option. And so he was like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. And we were just friends, like not a big deal. And then about 3 months later, he was like, I was thinking about it. And, we had discussed some things beforehand, just differences between the Catholic and Baptist faith. And I was like, I'm not saying that they're bad or that Catholics aren't Christians. These are just things that are important to me. And then he was like, I looked it up and you're right. These things, they don't say this. I'm not sure why we do this in the Catholic faith. And I was like, okay, cool. And he was like, would it be okay if I like came with you to church? And I was like, sure, that's fine. And so it just kind of like grew from that. We were friends in high school, so it wasn't that much of a like stretch, I guess, because we already knew each other. So it wasn't like I was getting to know him and then also like, let's add this piece on. And so it just kind of organically like, went from there.
Wow.
So, but it was so
that's cool.
That is cool. That's a really sweet story. I love that.
What would your advice be for someone who's about to send a kid to college?
Man.
To encourage.
I don't know.
Like for me, it was so clear in my head. I don't know who pointed it. I don't know where the thought came from, but I was like, I have to make friends. Church is where I need to go. Like, it wasn't even like I need God, which sounds terrible. Right. It was like, this is a giant university. I went to UT. Sorry.
Sorry. Won't hold it against you.
I'm married to an Aggie. So. But I went, and it was just such a huge school. I was like, my only chance for making friends is going to be church. Like, I wasn't in the marching band. I wasn't in any like huge extracurricular. So I was like, I got to figure this out. And so that really motivated me. And so when you say, well, guilt motivated you, I think God can use a lot of things to keep you in his care. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's really any one wrong way. It's like, oh, it was guilt, or it was because I wanted friends, like, or it's because I had a crush on a girl who, like, for your husband, like, God uses those things. And so if you're praying for your kids, I would be praying for specific things like that to draw them in, like, God, would you speak to my child in the exact way to get them to think about coming to you?
Andy told Olivia, and I didn't have this conversation. In fact, my parents never really, they didn't seem to have a big, strong sports opinion on what I did Sunday mornings when I was off at college. And Andy told Olivia, is like, I expect two things for you to be in a church and for you to be in a small group. So Sunday rolls around. It's her first Sunday at college. And he texts her, hey, what time's the service? And she types back, oh, we're headed there. It's at 11:30. And Andy and I look at each other and
There's
I'm like,
no service at 11:30.
No, I have been going to church my entire life. I've never heard of any church service starting at 11:30. And I just write back, and she goes, oh, my friends, they saw that it ended at 12:30. So we just assumed it would begin at 11:30. And I'm like, no, nope, that's not true. And so she was getting ready, trying to go to the 11:30. And finally she's like, oh no, it was 11. It was 11. We're too late. And Andy and I just gave her so much about that. Yeah. We're just like, what?
The one thing we ask you to do.
We got to be there at 11:30. So, and she was going to go to Grace, but she, so we haven't been successful yet. We're 0 and 0. We're 0.
She just got there.
I think she'll do the Impact Weekend where they get to hear a lot more about the churches and connect more.
It's a weird time because she's starting early for this like special program. There's not a lot of college, you know what I'm saying?
There's not.
There aren't a lot of college like
welcome times or it's just not happening right now.
What I love about this program that she's in is she's understanding the framework of A&M. She's understanding how to get on the bus, how to check her grades, how to find professors, how to get, and that would be overwhelming once they invite the other 17,000 students. But right now it's just 500. Yeah. So you're right. Church isn't going to be like this packed with college students. It's everybody's on vacation. Yeah. It's kind of, they probably have a guest preacher in. Mm-hmm. They're probably doing what's your favorite hymnal.
When they start giving away free meals, when August rolls around and you can get a free meal every night of the week, she'll find a church.
Can I tell you something I'll tell you this in the Get to Know You time. No, I'll just tell you now. We bought a meal plan for this. It's 5 weeks. She's at school for 5 weeks. I'm so embarrassed to admit this publicly. So Andy's afraid she's going to starve to death. And he's like, we need to find a meal plan for her for these 5 weeks. Let's just get the summer meal plan. And I'm like, okay, well, they have these meal swipes. Yeah. And there's dining dollars that you can use anytime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dining dollars roll over. You can use them anytime. Yeah. But we're like, but the meal swipes, she'll have an entire meal. It'll be so good. So we decided to give her 50 meal swipes for 5 weeks because I added up all the meals she would need to be fed. And that seemed reasonable. Well, only one dining hall is open. And it is on the complete opposite side of campus. She has not swiped it one time.
And they don't roll over.
So I think Andy and I are about to start driving up to A&M every day and eating lunch and dinner at A&M with our meal swipes.
You should.
But I am going to call today and play the hurricane card.
We had a joke in college that like, you could take a girl on a date there and just be like, hey, swipe twice. Just swipe twice.
I believe there's like 30 minutes between swipes or something like an hour.
Oh no, we could swipe at anybody. So we had like small group leaders that were like grown-ups that would come eat with us and we just swipe them twice.
Yeah. I'm like, Olivia, find some people, give them a swipe, figure this out.
But that's weird. There's a time limit. No, we
and not only that, it's closed. She has a class for the entire time of her lunch. Wow. So This is no place to talk about this on a podcast.
Well, you got to vent a little
Catherine's
bit.
like,
You gotta
why am I on this show today?
Yeah.
Jennifer's talked the entire time.
I had a meal plan like the first semester. And I ate it like a couple times. And then, there's the whole freshman 15 and all
Sure.
that. And I lived off campus. And so I had a kitchen, but like I had this meal plan. And then I was like, oh no, I'm gaining weight. Like I cannot eat here. So then I ended up like giving my meal plan to one of my friends. And then I would eat their homemade food. Like we'd do like a weird swap.
Oh,
And it was just the oddest thing. But they were like, I'll eat your meal plan. I was like,
wow.
I'll eat your sandwich. Like that's
Wow.
Have
it
your
was
fresh bread.
We had a Wendy's in the bottom of my dorm, and that was my downfall. Just a straight up, full blown Wendy's in the bottom of my
You're
dorm.
like eating all levels of everything Wendy's has.
Dude,
It's like,
there was more.
today I'm doing chili and fries.
There was more people in my freshman
the
dorm.
Frosty and fries.
It's good.
Frosty
There
and
was more
fries.
people in my freshman dorm than in my whole hometown. Like,
Wow.
there was more people housed in that dorm than in my hometown. So, like,
So how many people did you?
There were 3,000 people in the dorm. There are 2,500 people in my hometown.
Woo. That's a big
But
dorm.
we had lots of great food, had a Wendy's in the bottom. So, when you talk about freshman 15, I mean, it was wild. It was
I'll tell you,
no
I
rules.
I
And those
love
Bevo bucks, it's like, this isn't real money. I don't get
It is real money. Your parents are just paying for it.
They were like, it's Monopoly money. It doesn't matter.
by the end of the semester, you're like wearing sweatpants. You're in all your most
Exactly.
expanding wear. I gained so much. I was gone for 1 year in college and gained so much because of the meal plan.
I miss it, though.
See? I got
up.
It's a great time.
I would
That's what
sit in the
I'm talking about.
cafeteria and talk to people for hours. I would eat I was like a hobbit. I would eat so much.
Dude,
mini
we had
breakfasts.
Starbucks on campus. We had
breakfasts.
everything you could imagine. It was great.
Well, it makes me sad for the good old days of college. But Catherine, man, we're so glad that you came to visit with us today.
Yeah.
Well, now it's a get to know you question. Have you
Yeah.
already gotten the get to know you question?
No, but I just want to say if you're interested in MomCo, first, cityrise.org/women or cityrise.org/events is where you'll see the link to register for this fall. It does start, I think, in September.
It does.
Okay.
I
so
think
you have
it's
time.
September. I should know that.
It's soon.
but
It'll be on the
it's
website.
beginning of September.
But if you are a mom with children of
it's
any
the
ages-
Monday after Labor Day.
There you go.
Okay,
Perfect.
there you go.
Yeah.
If you've got children of any ages and are a mom looking to get connected, it's a great place. But also you mentioned if you have some sort of specialty that can be helpful to parents, you can
Yeah.
probably reach out.
Yeah, we're always looking for speakers.
Okay.
And I discussed some of the topics that we've had, but we've also had moms come in and talk about, you were talking about schools. We've had different people come in. We had like a school panel. So some who did like public school, private school, homeschooling,
Nice.
all of that. Cause I know that that's a big one that moms worry about.
Yeah.
And it's ranged from someone came in and talked about parks around Houston, like free stuff to do, which was actually really fun. So it really does. It's a wide range of stuff
Yeah.
that we talk about.
I'll put the link for registration in the description. I'll also put Kristen Campbell's email. She's the staff representative for this ministry. If you have questions or if you want to volunteer as a mentor mom and let them know that, or if you want to speak or offer your assistance or just make coffee. I know they make coffee every week and that's a huge, huge job. So, but that's it for
Kristen
MomCo.
makes it every week.
Oh, she does a great job.
But she told me, yeah.
She'd be happy to give that job away, I'm
Yeah.
sure. No, I don't have a get to know you question. Do you have one?
Yes. Okay. So we're talking about school a little bit, and I cannot believe we're already in the middle of July. What was your go-to lunch in your lunchbox for school, or did you have the meal? Did you get the lunch?
Yeah. When I was little, when I was in school, nobody brought their lunch. Now everybody brings their lunch.
Everyone brings their
Allergies.
lunch.
I guess so, but we were very much school lunch people. And so if you're asking what my go-to, my favorite. So on Wednesdays, and this was like my entire career at Dangerfield ISD, they all like synced up on what they were doing, regardless what school. Wednesdays was always either steak fingers or chicken nuggets, but they were actually chicken rings, which I don't know why they did them that way. But
Was it with the mashed potatoes and the gravy?
Yes, and the roll, and they would alternate. So every Wednesday was something fried.
Like onion rings with their.
I don't know why they were.
Were they like shaped like onion rings?
They
but
weren't
were
that
chicken?
big. They were like a chicken nugget with the center cut out. I don't know why they were rings. I don't know if it was
because it wasn't really chicken.
Gripability, like grabability. I don't know if our little fingers.
Like we don't want them choking on the chicken. Let's do a little lifesaver chicken rings.
But it would alternate Wednesdays between steak fingers and chicken rings, and it would always mashed potatoes and gravy. And these rolls that our people they made them from scratch. Like these were not like frozen rolls. It was the best day of the week. Children would run to the cafeteria on Wednesdays. Like we are fighting to get to the front line because we loved it so much.
That was hysterical.
Wednesday. So Wednesdays was a good day.
Oh, that's funny.
Do you have one for Catherine?
Well, I will say that I ate in the cafeteria as well. I think they stopped making food and it is now turned into not food. I don't know what it is now.
There's been a lot of regulations.
It's not great. It's nobody's running to the cafeteria for whatever they're serving now. Like I don't think they have nearly the amount of salt, fat, sugar. All of that is very controlled. Mm-hmm. But when I was in 8th grade, I remember that I found an area of the cafeteria that served nachos, and they were like, it was like almost a gravy nacho. Like it wasn't just sprinkled meat. It was like some kind of a big goulash. Yeah. Oh dear. Sorry about that. Catherine, did we not tell you about the phone?
That's not my phone.
I know that we're going to pretend. I'm so sorry. I had to keep this on because I'm waiting for someone to call.
And you're going to decline that call right now.
I'm definitely declining it. I'm going to turn this off right now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Better you than me.
Good nachos.
It was like these amazing nachos. Yeah. And I ate them every day for a year.
Oh, wow.
What a choice. Every day at school for a year with a milkshake.
Wow.
And I still miss the way that they made those nachos.
Yeah.
It was delicious. How about you, Catherine?
It's funny you mentioned nachos. My daughter's obsessed with her school nachos. So, and she talks about them. Like she ate them and then we went on vacation before spring break and she was like, they had nachos while we were gone. And she talked about them. And I was like, well, we'll wait for the next time. And then she got sick and then she came back and she was like, they had nachos while I was sick. And she's been talking about those nachos and she hasn't had them since like January. And so it's just funny that like she's obsessed with the school nachos. I'm like, we have nachos all the time. She's like, they're not the same.
I wonder how they make them at the school.
I don't know.
What are they doing?
I don't know what they're doing, but she's obsessed. No, I ate lunch at school as well. So my brother was the weirdo who took the exact same thing every day to school that my mom made. But I ate the school lunch every day, except for the milk. The milk grossed me out. And I think it's because it wasn't cold enough.
Yes.
And
is true.
And I was like, this stuff's gross.
What was your favorite cafeteria meal?
So I did, it ranged, but pizza, but not the square pizza. Like when I hit high school, they actually had, it came, it was like an actual circle pizza.
Oh.
Like it was really good. And then I loved the cheese sticks, like it was bread. It was pretty much just bread with mozzarella cheese on the inside. And it came in the 3 rectangles with marinara sauce. It was my favorite.
Wow.
They had those in middle school and high school, but that was in the snack bar. So you had to go to the snack bar area to get that.
Right.
I forgot about rectangle pizza. I was pretty into rectangle pizza.
With cheddar cheese. I think it was cheddar cheese.
I don't know what it was.
And corn on the side.
Yeah. Talking about kids eating lunch, Maggie's funny. My daughter, she sometimes eats school lunch because sometimes it's school, sometimes it's not. And one day they had tamales and she had never had a tamale. And we asked her how was it? And she goes, well, it was really hard to eat because the skin's really hard. I was like, how is nobody telling these children or unwrapping them as they serve them? Like, why do you?
They're over there just like trying to bite into them like a hot dog.
So she gave up. She doesn't know. We're like the whitest family in America. But I'm like, how did no one in this school like think maybe we should unwrap these for the kids or like kind of open them up a little bit so they know? Like it was.
Yes.
It was really bizarre.
I loved corn dog day. That was always good. Fish stick day. I really like they had great days. But
I have no hard feelings or bad memories about school lunches. Like I like
soup
them.
day was good because then they give you a fry. Oh, you get grilled cheese or peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, we did peanut butter and jelly, and we would dip it in the soup, and it was great. Like it was incredible.
Great. We would do a chili day, and they would do grilled cheese, and you would dip it in.
That's fun.
But oh my goodness, they had such great food.
And the lunch ladies were second moms. Like
they knew us all.
in like TV shows, they make them like, wow, here's your soup. Like Ours were always the nicest, coolest ladies.
Yes.
Like, we loved our lunch ladies.
Yes.
Like, I was a big fan.
Well, I'm so glad to visit with you, Catherine. I'm excited about MomCo for this fall.
Yeah,
Thank you
me
for
too.
serving in this way. It's such a meaningful ministry.
Yeah. If you enjoy the show or if you know a mom in the area, please send this to them. This is a great way to get to know kind of what this ministry is about. We'd love for you to send this link to somebody who would enjoy learning about this ministry or would enjoy being a part of what God's doing through this. I think it's a really great space for moms who are a little disconnected to be drawn into not just our church, but community is really what it's about.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you talk about how it drew you into our church, which is great. We love having people come to our church, but our heart is we want people to connect with other Christians and feel like they have this community where they can depend on and lean on. So it's a great place to do that. All the links for that are going to be in the show notes as well. If you have anybody you think we should talk to, please email us at podcast@cityrise.org. Rate, review, subscribe, like if you're watching on YouTube.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you, guys. We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing podcast from the City Rise Network based in Houston, Texas. City Rise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.